Here is Jared Fogle. You may have seen him on the news or a talk show. He was inspired by Subway's great-tasting sandwiches. Jared believes in an active lifestyle, including lots of walking. At the heart of Jared's routine are Subway sandwiches.
That was one of Jared Fogle's first commercials for Subway. As it mentioned, he made a lot of news for losing tons of weight, hundreds of pounds eating Subway. Well, now, of course, he is making news for very different reasons. Fogle now under house arrest awaiting approval of a plea deal for child sex and child pornography charges.
After Fogle's court appearance yesterday, Subway tweeted, "Jared Fogle's actions are inexcusable and do not represent our brand's values. We had already ended our relationship with Jared. So what is the impact on Subway?"
San Diego State professor and legal analyst Wendy Patrick joins us again this morning. Let's start with that, Wendy. Will there be fallout for Subway, you think? And if so, how much?
Well, it's going to depend on what did Subway know and when did they know it. You may recall that this question was raised back a couple of months ago when the head of his foundation was arrested on child porn charges. But Subway didn't jump to the conclusion guilty by association. They gave Jared the benefit of the doubt. What we're going to be seeing now is clearly their swift action has scrubbed Jared completely from any association with the company. But I got to tell you, what's unique about Jared is this. He was the Subway superhero.
Yeah.
He wasn't a mascot, right? The mascots can't get arrested and embarrass the company. But we also can't relate to mascots the way people related to Jared. He was an inspiration to anybody trying to get into shape. So what Subway is going to be looking at now is whether or not their continued viability is going to be based just on their, eat fresh menu alone, or how much really was tied to having an inspirational role model so closely associated with the company.
Speaking of role models, Wendy, over the years, when we've seen things like this happen, you see people that are signed on to represent a certain brand or whatnot, and then they fall from grace and something happens. What happens to the brand when you use a person that doesn't live up to the expectations?
Well, we're going to see it right about now with Subway, because that's exactly what they did. This isn't the Pillsbury Doughboy or even Progressive's Flo. This is a real-life person who was a success story. He's inextricably tied to Subway. In other words, it was their Stay Fresh menu that led him to lose literally half of his body mass. So when you use a real person that has actually succeeded through the company, you saw their sales go through the roof. They made a lot of money out of their association with Jared. What they're looking about right about now is, are they going to continue to be as successful without Jared as the Subway superhero? Many people believe that they will, because they're a very well-loved sandwich store. They've got a great menu. They're in a lot of places. But there are also some critics that are going to say, every time we see the word Subway, how can we not remember what Jared did?
But think about, Wendy, that's a good point, because yesterday I was driving by a Subway sandwich, and when I saw the sign, that's the first thing that I thought about now. Now, would that make me stop eating a yummy sandwich? If it's good, and people are going to go. But do you think in the long run, if people, every time they see that, they're going to think of this guy? And I'm sure you've been online, the social media, the memes that are coming up, and the things that they're saying about this guy now. How much is it going to hurt Subway? Do you really think it will in the long run?
In the long run, people are going to forget. In fact, we've already forgotten all the other fast food chains that have been through their own scandals and all the companies that have had their own spokespeople fall from grace. And I hate to say it, there's just too many more scandals that are going to come after this one, where Subway will probably recover in the long run, and we will forget about Jared Fogle. Sadly, something else is going to happen that might overshadow this.
Yeah, it'll take a while because he was the spokesman for so many years. However, I agree with you. I think Subway will continue. What I found interesting is how they handled the whole thing. When it first came out, they said, we need to wait and see what happens. And then when it was proven, they said, you know what? We're done. We're moving on as a company. I thought the way they handled it was about as well as you can handle a scandal like this as a major restaurant, a major company.
A major company that had such a well-known spokesperson. I mean, Jared Fogle told a story in 2013 about being on the White House lawn when then President Bush looked at Laura and said, there's Jared, the Subway guy.
Yeah.
I mean, he was one of the most well-known spokespeople in the world. That's probably why Subway moved as swiftly as it did, both when the allegations broke and then when the plea deal was announced.
So what is the lesson to be learned from all of this for companies that may be making decisions on who should be representing them, because they didn't know this when
And all
they
these
picked the
companies
guy.
also have like crisis control. They hire PR firms. They hire these professionals to basically shape their image. Crisis management is a big deal, and I think this is going to be quite a lesson for everybody learning how to do PR and that kind of thing.
It sure is, because, you know, not even a background check would have caught this, because lots of people don't come with criminal records. However, they remember that Subway chose Jared not because somebody vouched for his character or they had known him for 20 years, but because he lost all of that weight on the Subway diet. So many companies might argue there should be a little more background or a little more getting to know you phase done before signing on somebody to be the face of the company. Now, for all we know, Subway did that. We don't know the extent of the investigation they did. But you can imagine people are going to be treading very carefully when hiring somebody like this to be the face of other companies.
Wendy Patrick, thank you for being here. I truly love all conversations with you. You're fabulous.
Right back at you both. Thank you.
Have a good day.